Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Restorers Podcast. This is Jack Crowley again, and this is episode 12. It's the end of our first season of the Restorers Podcast, and so we have decided to do something a little different. Rather than having our normal two guests focusing on a single topic related to Water Street or our guests, we're actually going to take some time and answer your questions. So some of them have come in directly to the podcast. Some have come through social media. Some of them are questions that are frequently asked questions of our ambassadors or our volunteer coordinators. So they're coming from all angles. And thankfully, I don't have to do this all myself. I do have a friend here with me today. Ron Gilbert is one of our senior life coaches here at Water Street. Senior, yes, indeed. And that's not just about your age.
That's right.
It's because you're responsible too.
That's right. That's
all right. But it's great to have you here today, Ron.
Thank you, Jack. Thanks for having me.
And I know you've been a life coach for a little while, but that is not how you started at Water Street.
No, sir. No, sir. I came to Water Street almost 13 years ago.
Wow.
Might have been more than that.
Wow.
I came to Water Street running for my life. People hear that saying, people want to kill you. Nope. I got taught how I was living, drugs, alcohol, all the things that at the world's table.
Yeah.
And people out there who are believers know what I mean. I came to Water Street and I came with this instead of that. I got asked to leave a couple of times because I wasn't complying to what was asked of me. Okay. But as time went on, I came back and I started building a relationship with God. And at first when I was here, that was the farthest thing from my mind.
Right,
it was just a place to stay, eat, shave, bathe, and just run around, rap, just crazy. And, I came and I sat still. I got out my way. I let some people, guide me for a little bit. And while I was here, I started seeing servanthood from different people and the way the Lord uses people to help others. Yeah. And so I said, hey, I want that. I used to sit back quiet in the corners in the dark, didn't want no light whatsoever. Right. And then I stayed the course and start receiving what's offered here at Water Street. I think we'll get into questions with stuff like that. Yeah. And God blessed me when I left. I got a job right away, something check this out. The first time in my life I was able to pass in a letter to a job to say, I'm passing my 2 weeks notice. Wow. And then I came and worked here. First time in my life. You weren't
fired. You didn't take off on the run. You were able to
didn't steal the toilet paper out of the janitor's closet.
You ended well.
That's right.
Because you were moving on to something new and better.
And I came here. I came back to the place that helped me get on track, which is Water Street Mission. Yeah. And they hired me as a life coach. Yep. And as years went on, I recently just became a senior life coach. Yep. And like you said at the beginning, not my age, but just somebody that's been around here for a while and that God is using to help other people get on track.
And we're so grateful to see how God is using you, the impact you're having on our guests and even on your coworkers too, as you mentor some of those younger life coaches and life coach assistants. Yeah. No, it's a big deal. And we're excited today. So this is going to be a little different. We're going to be looking down. We got some questions, and I think you get to ask me first, right? So let's see.
Sir. All right, now I'm coming in hard. All right. What is the biggest problem your organization is facing right now?
That is a tough one. It's probably the number of problems we're facing is the biggest problem, because there's so many different things going on in our culture and society, in our economy. And it's when you put all those things together, it makes life harder for Water Street. Right. So I couldn't really single out one thing, but it's the fact that it's not just one thing. Right. So it's the affordable housing crisis. It's inflation. It's the difficulty of finding quality staff because of the Great Resignation, and all these people have been leaving their jobs and leaving the workforce, and the baby boomers are all retiring, and there's not enough younger people coming on, and so there's all these openings everywhere. It's the fact that mental health issues are becoming more and more prevalent, and mental health and drug addiction kind of go hand in hand in certain ways. You put all that together, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And, but I'm grateful that we have such a faithful community of supporters and faithful staff that are helping us navigate it. So we're having to learn and change on the fly, trying to bring new services to the table to help people with new issues. I'm sure you're seeing that, especially around the mental health and addictions. And even as people are progressing and finishing their program, how hard it is to find a house. And so we got people staying here for 3 years, 4 years. And but we won't even talk about COVID.
I would like to thank you. Like you mentioned mental health a few times. I like to thank y'all for giving us training.
Yeah.
You know, for mental health. You know, even though I believe everybody got a little bit of mental health, it's just some people got it a little more. And I want to thank Water Street for helping us be able to address that issue, because it is real big.
Absolutely,
right,
and that's something we're looking at even more to expand that, because not everybody's going to be an expert, not everybody's going to be a licensed counselor, but we got to have a baseline knowledge. So, so the biggest problem is the number of problems.
Okay.
All right, so now I get to ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
See, you came hard at me. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give you an easy one.
I didn't come at you, Jack. Not yet.
So the easy one is what's the role of a life coach?
We are to walk alongside people when they come here. We're helpers. We're helper ants. You know what I mean? To love on the guests where they at. Yep. You know what I mean? We take a lot in, but we also pour in a lot to people that come here. You know, like when I meet people, they first come here, Jack, you know me, I'm outgoing. You know, some people are nervous, and we help set a tone for what we stand on, which is, you know, Christ. I mean, not putting Christ on the ground, standing on him, but you know what I mean? We let people know that that's where we are, and, you know, try to show Christ-like actions and how we do things with people. So we just love on them. Some people, like for me, when I came here, I was shocked at the love that people had for people. You know what I mean? So we help people get on track for outside services, this and that. But one of our mottos is, you know, housing and a job is not, you know, everything.
It's not the answer.
You know what I mean? It's not the answer. That's right. So we got
part
people,
of the answer, but it can't be the only.
That's right. So we go deeper. You know, as far as we listeners, we good advisors, and guess what? And we not perfect at it. You know what I mean? So that's what we do as life coaches. You know,
that's a great description. Cool. And when you think of coaches in the NFL, you got the coordinators up in the box who aren't even down, but you got the ones down on the field. You guys are the ones on the sidelines. Sometimes even going out on the field to help explain it. So.
Yeah. All right. How about this? Who does street outreach for people living on the street?
Okay.
Who does that?
That's a great question. Yeah. So right now, Water Street, we don't have any hired staff that are doing street outreach, although I know many of our staff live in the city, and we encounter people all the time. I know I do on my walk to work, on my walk to church. And so in a way, sometimes we all do get drawn into that. But here in Lancaster County, we're part of a coalition. So there's the Lancaster County Coalition on Homelessness. It's also known as Lanco My Home. And that's a network of a whole bunch of different organizations that are working around issues related to housing and homelessness. And within that coalition, I think we right now have 5 outreach workers that are on the street, that their job is, 40 hours a week, walking the neighborhoods, visiting Binns Park, going to other key places in the county where we know people are unsheltered homeless. And their job is to kind of build relationship and trust, find out what needs they are, make sure people, some of them know that they have options and they're still on the street. Some of them don't realize there's help for them. And so that's what the outreach workers are for. So some of them work for Tenfold. Some work for CAP. There's one who works for the Lancaster City Alliance who works just in the downtown area of the city. So there's a number of them out there. We partner with them. We make sure they understand our services. We're listening to them. They'll make referrals to us and connect to make sure that people on the street who are unsheltered know that there are options, know that there's help there for them. It's not just Water Street either that's providing the help. It's others. So right now we've chosen not to put our staff out there because we have a bunch of staff from the community, but we're always looking at, is that enough to meet the need, and should Water Street step up and add to that array of people out there.
I know some of those people that you're talking about. Awesome people, you know.
It's a tough job.
It is a tough job because, you know, everybody don't want help. You know what I mean? Right. And I think it's awesome that, you know, they going out there to inform the people that there is help, you know, because a lot of people just don't know, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So here's a question that we get sometimes from people who are driving by Water Street and volunteers who come on campus the first time, and they're like, "What? I'm seeing what's going on? Why is there a line of people waiting to get into a building at Water Street? How come they're not inside? Why are they waiting outside?"
Okay. When you see people outside, they are transitioning from a building, from another building. Yeah. We do about, I don't know how many meals a day, but they get to eat 3 times a day, and we don't stay in the dining hall all day. We have an area that's called Providence Day Shelter, where people can go and sit during the day, be on their phones, get on computers, and do all kinds of things that'll help them in their, you know, in their time of need. And we fellowship in this area and stuff like that. So when you see a line of people, sometimes it's to go into the dining hall, because if you really look in the line, there's also staff in those lines too. Yep. You know, we don't root people and stuff, so we stand in line with them. And you know, and then you get people that's just out there, you know, fellowshipping, talking and stuff.
Or just need a little space. I've been inside all day in the classroom doing other things, and I just need a little space. And I know this is going to be opening up in 15 minutes. I'll just chill out here.
Come out. And they do have a place to be all day. When they get in service here, they can go into the buildings. We have all kinds of stuff that they can do that'll help them.
The funny thing is, I really don't like the line culture, right? I hate like having people line up for long periods of time waiting to get in. And so we've done a lot to get rid of that. But part of it is just, you know, you're allowed to stay in the dining hall until this opens. But some people, there's a table they want. Right. So like, but if I go over 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early, then I'll be the first one in, and I'll get my choice of tables.
Let me give you this one. And the food is so good that they want to be first in line.
That is true.
And one thing, God bless the Water Street, that it's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
You know.
It's not because they're going to run out. They just want it.
They just want to get in there first. So let me ask you this, Jack. Do you have to turn people away? And if so, why? Why we have to turn people away, or do you have to?
Yeah, that's a tough question. That's a complicated answer. The real short answer is yes, we do, and it's one of the hardest things we do, and it can be a heartbreaking thing. On the positive side, it's very, very rare that we turn people away because we don't have room or we don't have space. And in those cases, we're always working to refer them elsewhere and connect them into other services, even at times going totally outside the box in what we do for people if we're turning away because of space. And that's incredibly rare that we have to do that. But there are times that people have needs that we're just not able to serve, and often it leans one way or the other. It's either physical health needs. That's right. We'll get referrals, or we'll get drop-offs even of people who have massive physical care needs, where really what they need is assisted living, in many cases even nursing care level support. They're coming out of the hospital. They're coming out of another facility. They don't have the resources to go somewhere else. And so in those cases, we'll refer to the hospital and we'll try to collaborate with them. But there are times, because we don't have that, even though we have a medical clinic on campus,
we do.
It is not a nursing care facility.
That's right.
We don't have the types of beds and facilities to care for somebody. We don't have the 24/7 nursing staff the way you would need for some of those physical needs.
And to go a little deeper, we have to know who we letting in here too. So we do background checks and stuff like that.
Even that line, it's a pretty high bar, but we have women and children on campus.
That's right.
So we're not able to serve Megan's Law offenders.
That's right.
I mean, that is a strict line we have to follow, because our highest priority is the safety of our guests. That's and so the safety of the women and children.
And don't forget staff too, Jack.
And staff, okay. We care about our staff safety too. There's one other, and that is, and this is an issue, as I mentioned earlier, one of the big things we're facing, mental health issues, right? Yeah. And so we have expanded what we can do for people with mental health and mental illness, with those issues. We've talked about those in previous podcasts, but the reality is, if somebody has significant mental health issues, mental illness, and they're not willing to stay in line with their treatment plan.
Right.
So it's a two thing. It's not just that they've got, they were diagnosed with this, they can't stay here. Because we work with people with all kinds of different mental illness and mental health issues. But if they're not willing to take their meds, if they're not willing to go to counseling, they can't come here and say, yes, here's my treatment plan, but I'm not doing any of it.
That's right.
In those cases, again, it's about safety of our guests, safety of our staff, and of the community. And so those are the rare cases. And it's not like we're turning people away every day, but from time to time we do have to. Well, we got a lot more questions, but we're going to take a quick break and give a little shout out. Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Rogers & Associates. I want to give a profound thanks to our Season 1 podcast sponsor, Rogers & Associates, who's helping us tremendously in this first year of the Restorers podcast. They're a wealth management firm that helps clients become financially independent for retirement. You can learn more about them online at rogers-associates.com or by calling 717-560-3800. That's Rogers, RODGERS-associates.com. or by calling 717-560-3800. Thank you so much, Rogers & Associates. All right, welcome back, and thanks again, Rogers & Associates. This has been fun so far for me, Ron. You having fun?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm learning a lot.
Hopefully our listeners are.
Yeah, most definitely.
But I think you get to ask the next question.
All right. So I'm going to ask you, are men allowed to be at Water Street with their children? Why and why not?
Good question. Yeah. As of right now, no. We do not have the ability to have men with their children unless their wife is here too. So we have had married couples with children. Because of our facilities is the main reason. We just have limitations with the construction and configuration of our facilities. So in one building we have space for women with children and single women, and they're all on the same floor together. We have both a shelter and residential, and then our men are in a separate building. And we just don't have the ability, the way those floors are configured, to have both men and women on the same floor. And so if it's a single dad with kids, we're not able to do that. But that's why the relationships we have in the community are so important. So we partner with TLC, we partner with other ministries and with the coalition when we have a dad with kids to help find an alternative for them where we can support them and help them on their journey. Maybe that's something God would have in our future. We've looked into different angles. There's a lot of gaps out there, and we've got to figure out what's the right ones for us to lean into. And we have a lot of dads here who aren't with their kids, and that's a big part of what we're working on is to help rebuild and even bring reconciliation there with families that are broken sometimes.
Well, guess what? That happened to me. My daughter lives with me now. She's trying to drive my car, but that's another story. You will never be able. But the thing is, that's what happened to me. Like they say, rebuilt relationships. I'm gonna just leave it to that.
Yeah, that's key.
Good stuff. Yeah.
All right, here's a good one. I know people have asked this when I've given tours before. Do we have a problem with violence on campus? You've been here, you started with us 13 years ago. How long you been a life coach now?
I'm towards my 6th year.
6 years? Yeah. So do we have a problem with violence on campus?
No, we really don't. But, I think our guests know, like me coming from where I come from, don't nobody want no problem with the police. You know what I mean? And most of the time, if it's a violent act, is mostly verbal.
Yeah.
The people.
So things can get tense.
Yeah, it can get very tense. Yeah. We have had a couple of physical confrontations, but on the honest is, the people are receiving what's offered here, and they have a little respect with it. And yes, they do get loud, and who don't? But we know how to deal with those situations when they arise.
So de-escalation training.
Training. Yeah. And nobody want to see nobody hurt. If they wrong or right, whatever the situation is. But we don't have like that. We don't have that too much. It's mostly a verbal confrontation.
A broader comment on security related to that too is we do have. So we don't I mean, part of our environment, if people have looked at our videos or been on campus, they see we're very open, right?
Yes.
There's our welcome access center. We got rid of the walls and the glass.
The glass. I
remember
the glass.
More open.
I felt like I was at Central Booking.
And so part of it is part of it is the atmosphere we're trying to create, right? So where you feel welcome and respected, so you're willing to give some respect back. And then the other is, honestly, we do have cameras.
That's right.
And that's helpful because people are aware. And it actually gives a sense of safety to our guests to know that there are cameras because they know, hey, nothing can happen to me that's not going to be seen.
And
so
the guests will come to us as staff.
Yeah.
You know, a lot. I mean, you know, we have people that, you know, they make things happen, but a lot of guests will come to us to deal with situations and stuff like that.
Before they get escalated.
Yeah. They're people, man. It's people. But they loved here. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. All right. You get to ask me another one.
Well, how often are you seeing people return and why?
Yeah. You might be able to answer this one better than me, but it's part of the process. I mean, we see people come back, and here's the deal, is usually those guests who are choosing shelter track, we'll see them multiple times, right? Because they're looking for the quick answer. They're looking for, and again, we want to walk with them. We want to respect them and honor where they are right now. So that means we're gonna help them and love them along the way. But we know a lot of those solutions aren't going to be permanent, and so they may get something and it'll work out for 3 or 4 months, and but it's because they're sharing an apartment with 2 other people that they have no relationship with, and they're all still in some of their mess. As you were saying earlier, and so they come back and they give it another shot, and they give it another shot, and even in your own story, you know,
coming back.
It was coming back, and then you were ready to maybe look a little deeper.
That's right. And I think every time a guest leave and come back, I mean, the goal is, from our point of view, is to help you work on what's in there and then all the other stuff. But a lot of guests return because they want microwave life. They want to put it in the microwave, hit the button, bing, and everything's good. And you know, like for myself, when I came here, like I said, I just needed a place to stay, and you know, till I get a job, and then I found out it's more to it than that. So you know, a lot of them just return still wanting the microwave life, but after a while, and they get out their way and listen to us and see what's what. Oh man, especially when they grasp it. You know, like I used to cry when I see people go to the altar because I know what's about to happen, because I've seen some go down there one time, turn around, man, totally different. And when people come in, I watch them slowly go to the altar. Oh, it makes me, you know, a person come and say, man, I made a doctor's appointment today. I'll make, hey, everybody. You know what I mean?
I love the way you celebrate those little moments.
I celebrate them.
The way you do that,
and guess what?
It's awesome.
In celebration and acknowledging them, bro, that is encouraging.
It's huge.
It's a lot, man.
And let's be totally honest. It's not just our shelter guests who go out. Our residential guests, they'll work that journey. They'll see transformation. But it's tough to build community. It's tough to get those supports, and sometimes people do fall. And that's one of the things I love about Water Street, is that our arms are always open.
That's right.
And people come back. They're often like, I was afraid to come back. I was ashamed to come back, and I can't believe how much you guys have loved me since I came back.
Hey man, I've seen people curse us out. On the other side of the street. Right, and then come back. I don't think to humble themselves so they can have a place to stay, but come back sincere and more honest than what they left and say, hey, I'm sorry, man. And they go upstairs and do what got to be done. You know what I mean? Or God do what got to be done. But you know what I'm saying? I love to see people, you know, transformation. That is my new high, to see people transform. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. And then I'm going to take a side tact on this question. People coming back. We were in the parking lot a couple days ago.
That's right.
And you're like, Jack.
Yeah, I had to introduce you to this guy.
Was it Howard?
His name was Howard, right?
Yeah, man.
Now, Howard was a guy that was in the program with me 13 years ago, right? And he was something. You know what I mean? But Howard left here, got a CDLs. He got a wife and kid. And he admitted I fell a couple of times. But guess what?
I love he was willing to share that honest. So he's like, He's like, when I left, I tried to do it my own way. Like all that stuff I learned, and then I got out there, I tried to do it my own.
But you know what he did?
Like,
he regrouped with what he learned, and he's doing good. As a matter of fact, he was selling a car. You know what I mean? He's like, I got too many.
And, he talked about that foundation. Yeah. Like, I got the foundation here.
Yes, he did.
So even when I screwed up, I knew what I needed to go back to. And he's like, I'm 11 years sober. I'm married. I got kids. I got a good job. And he wanted to come and just
say hi.
Just to say hi.
To Water Street. And then he seen me. He almost bust out crying.
Oh, my gosh.
And he also asked me a question. You still here?
He thought you were in the program?
Yeah, he thought I was in the program. I said, yeah. But I shared with him, and he almost... Man, I got so many stories with that, man.
That's awesome.
So
not every return back to campus is
a bad
one. That's awesome, man.
God is good.
That is
brother.
awesome.
God
good
is
stuff. Good stuff.
You know what I mean?
I don't know whose turn it is to ask a question because we're both answering.
Well, how about this?
All right.
How long can guests stay here, Jack?
One of the things that I think is really cool about our program, so there are some missions out there that, you've got your time-limited stays. Mm-hmm. We have a couple different tracks, and depending on which track you choose as a guest, as a resident here, one is time-limited and one is not. So if somebody wants to be in shelter, and like we talked about earlier, shelter is about like, what are those things I need to deal with quickly to get back out into the community, to find a place? So it's find a job. It's, maybe you got a job already. It's just get an apartment, get something. If you choose shelter track, you have your 7 days of stabilization where we're building relationship, and then shelter is 60 days.
60,
60 days, and that's because we've worked with our community to determine if they're getting the supports through the case management, through rapid rehousing, through other things, how long does it take to find housing? Yeah. And it's different for everybody. And right now it's worse. But typically it's 45 to 60 days. And so we set our limit at 60 days because, again, if what you want is to get back into housing, and if you're determined to do it, we're going to walk with you, help you get there. And we'll make extensions.
There you go.
If somebody is working with a case manager, they've got a lead on something, we'll extend.
That's right.
If somebody comes to us on day 59 and says, so I've done nothing for the last 59 days, but I'm ready to start now, could I have an extra 60 days?
No.
At that point, no, because honestly, part of it is there's other people who need those beds, and we're going to engage. And you can come back.
Yeah,
but if you choose residential track, if you're willing to take the deeper dive and look at the root issues and core longings and work on those issues in your life, our residential track doesn't really have an end date. It's based on the individual's journey. So we set individualized action plans. We walk with them on the journey. I say typically it's at least 6 months, and then it can be as long as a year or two sometimes, depending on what they're working on.
I did 14 months here, Jack.
14 months.
Because the food was good. The food was good. So God is good.
I mean, we have guests who are like, they've got significant debt.
Yeah.
So even after they work through the health issues and the mental health issues and the spiritual, and they get a job, they may have thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. And we don't want to exit them into a house where their income pays their rent and their debt, and they don't have money for food. And if anything goes wrong.
We have some guests that really got rid of some significant
There's a story in in our newsletter about somebody who paid back over $39,000 in their debt.
You know what? I think I eat breakfast and lunch with that guy sometimes.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so people can stay as long as God's working in their life.
That's right.
Here's one a little bit off topic from the mission, but what should I do when I encounter someone who's homeless on the street?
Me and my wife love on them where they at. On the street, around the corner, here on the property. Some people say you shouldn't give them money. We don't always give money. We give encouragement. We pray. And my wife is a prayer warrior. We pray with people and stuff like that. My church, we do outside ministry. We give clothes and do all kinds of stuff like that. But we don't do it to be seen, to be heard. Right. You would be surprised at some of the stuff I've done to get out my way to help a homeless person.
Absolutely.
And what encouraged me? Another story, quick story.
Sure.
It was a church in Baltimore, and it was this deacon, and he used to come out on a corner where I used to not be a good person, and want to pray with us and stuff. And I used to sit in the back, because I'm a goon, and in front of them, the guys, I'm like this, but in my heart and mind, I wanted everything he was offering. But what made me fall in love with serving somebody, it was a guy that used to literally lay in the gutter, and this deacon got and laid down beside him and talking to him in the street, you know. Wow. And in my mind at that time, I said, that guy's crazy. But now, you know, I'm a clean guy, but I'm willing to get dirty, bro. Because you know what? He was
modeling Jesus.
That's right. He was modeling Jesus. And guess what? Some of the best people I ever met was some of the homeless people. Let me give you this. I got put out of here one time, right? And everybody who had nothing offered me everything. You feel me? The people who had nothing, who struggling. From my character. I guess it's from my character the way I was. But, you know, people look and judge us like, but guess what? Under all that craziness or whatever exterior they have, it is some of the best people in the world. You know, man, I met some good people here at Water Street.
And that's a great reminder. And I think, you know, when I get asked that question, you know, I used to, years ago, I used to give the standard answer of like, oh, don't give them money because if you're giving them money, it's just going to go to this and that and the other thing. Point them to services, do that. And I stopped giving that answer. Right. Because I didn't like that answer. Right. Because I don't think that's how God wants us to engage with his children created in his image. Make an assumption about whether they're going to make the right choice or not. No. And so what I tell people now is like, pray. Pray and listen for God. And don't pray when you see them. I mean, yes, pray when you see them. Be praying about that before so that God can guide you in the moment. And there have been times, same thing. There have been times I sat with a guy in front of the Turkey Hill, reeking of alcohol. And in times I gave him money where I knew exactly what he was doing, but I just said, I love you. Right. I want you to do something better. I want you to make better choices, but I'm going to love you anyway. And there are other times where I don't give a dime, and I just try a word of encouragement. But the most important thing is see the human being in front of you.
That's right.
They're a human being created in the image of God, and however God compels in the moment, to speak to them, to encourage them. Right. And there are moments, I mean, I'm on the way to a meeting and everything, and I've walked by, but I usually try to make eye contact and say hi at least. So acknowledge their humanity, because how many times people have walked by and don't even look at them. You just look the other way, pretend they don't exist. And so even if I don't have time to engage, you know, I want to say hello, and then if I see them again, let them know about Water Street, meet them in the moment.
You know the story about the man going across the bridge and the guy say, hey, Jesus love you, have a good day, bye-bye. And then later he meets the guy and the guy say, you saved my life because I was walking, get ready to jump off that bridge and you acknowledged me. Wow. And you told me that you love me and God loved me. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm making the story short, but you know, hello, how you doing? Like I see guests that leave here. They say we're not supposed to like acknowledge, you know, tell the guest business and that. But I had guests see me like, you know, like excited. And then my heart gets so excited. And look, even if they doing bad or good, I still treat them the same. You know, I had a guy come here a couple of weeks ago and say, man, I was so glad to see you, Ron. I said, why? You know, being me, why? He said, because you're the same way when I left, and that is a good thing. You know what I mean?
Didn't treat me different.
You know, I'm not tooting my horn, but it's just like, you know, loving on them, bro, is like the most important. You know.
Yeah. Good stuff.
It's awesome.
We got a few more minutes. Maybe we can get one or two more questions in.
Why do you turn away certain donations, brother?
Why do we turn away certain? Well, there are some things that we can't keep on campus. We don't have room for. We don't. So years ago, we used to take clothing, furniture, household goods, all kinds of stuff, because we had warehouse space and we had thrift stores and we had the ability to turn those around and distribute them into the community. As we've expanded and done more on campus with our medical and dental facilities, behavioral health, we've expanded our residential side. We've done more. We don't have all that warehouse space anymore. We don't run thrift stores, and so we can't take everything. So there are certain things we really need to target. We partner with a great thrift store called Community Aid. You can go on our website and learn all the different things that we do accept. It's got to be stuff that can directly benefit our guests here, and then or that we can distribute into the community. So food is a main one, certain personal products and stuff like that. And we do take some clothing at certain times a year, but that'll be on the website. We do winter coats and stuff. There's key times a year, but most of the time, clothing, household goods can go to Community Aid. There's Off the Streets is a ministry that does furniture for people who are coming out of homelessness and getting into apartments. So there's other places that those things can be donated.
All right.
Here's one. Do our guests get drug tests and breathalyzers?
Oh, wow.
They have to, all of our guests in shelter, they have to drug test every night before they come into the shelter, right?
No.
Why not?
Well, our residential guests, you know, the ones that they signed contracts and all that, committed to a long-term program. Yep. They have to do a breathalyzer every night, doing check-in. As far as a urinalysis, that is if they committed to, you know, the drug track, you know, drug and alcohol track. You know, they have to do that. But our shelter guests, nope, we don't do that with them. We're not holding them accountable for that. But, I mean, we do to a certain extent. If a guest come in smelling like alcohol and stuff like that, we let them in if they can maintain and sustain their, you know, person or whatever. But we do encourage, you know, and we have all kinds of partners outside of Water Street where we guide guests into that, you know, into that avenue of recovery and stuff like that. But we don't discriminate against people who are on drugs and alcohol. We basically want to help you, but we're not a drug and alcohol facility. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, we don't do rehab and detox.
We don't do rehab and detox and all that.
But we do have a drug and alcohol track in our residential where we're going to walk with them on that journey. And we have staff who are specialists in that. But it's important for people to know that the shelter, though, as long as people are able to care for themselves and they're not a danger to others in the room, they
all right. Because
but if we see that pattern, we're gonna
address it.
Put our arm around. Like, can we do something about this? Yeah. All right, we're getting to the end. Is there one more question you want to ask me from your pile there?
Now, this is a real kicker.
Okay.
What do you have to do to be asked to leave or get, as the guests would say, kicked out?
And the guests love to say that we kick them out, and you know, we use the language that you've chosen to leave.
That's right.
And there's validity to that. Like it's language, but the truth of the matter is, when guests come here, we do ask them. So that first 7 days, it's hard to get kicked out during the first 7 because we have very little accountability other than safety, like that you're not being violent towards somebody, you're not threatening somebody, you're not bringing drugs on campus and using drugs on campus. Those are basically the things that'll get you exited during stabilization phase. After that, you're either signing a contract to stay in the shelter, and there are certain commitments and expectations that you're signing and saying, I'm going to, and it's about holding community. It's about being safe to those around you. Residential track, you're signing on to an individualized action plan where you're making commitments. In both of those cases, if you start doing things in contradiction to what you signed, it's going to be addressed. It doesn't mean you're out the door right away, but it's a conversation. But it's if there's a pattern of like, look, you said that you're going to abide by these things that are going to help us live in community together, and we're talking to you every single day, and you're just living in opposition to that, then you're choosing to leave. You're making a choice to not be a part of this community because it's a invitational, intentional community. We're not forcing you to be here.
That's right.
So if you don't want to be a part of what we're asking you to do, then you're welcome to leave.
That's right. Like the contract is not to trip you up and nothing like that.
Right.
To me, I tell you, the contract is for the safety of you and everybody else that's here.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people, you know, they come to Water Street and they like, you know, y'all shouldn't do, you should, you know, get out your way and like I did chapel today. I said, I don't want to tickle ears. I just want to touch some hearts because, you know, the heart of the matter is life change when you come here, because life has been uncontrollable to some. And then, you know, coming here, we got rules, we got policies, and they're there for a reason. And it's not there to trip nobody up. You know, we just trying to, like my grandmother said, if you fall up. You ain't expect that one. But if you fall up. So we trying to help people fall up, or at least look up. Look up and pray up, you know?
Well, Ron, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you helping answer questions that I didn't have the answers to, because I need the expert in the room to help me out.
Thank you.
So thank you, Ron. And I hope this has been enlightening for you listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed our conversation, learned something new today. We just appreciate you checking out our podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in season 2.